Q&A. I have some fantastic filmmakers here who did Honor Flight San Diego and Waterproof. And super excited to have them, including Ross Kaufman, who's an Academy Award-winning filmmaker, along with Palmer, who directed Honor Flight San Diego. So let's bring these guys on. We got John. Hello, John.
Hello.
We got May, Ross, and Palmer. How are you guys?
Hello.
It's good to see you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of this. And like I mentioned before, this is definitely not what we planned, but I'm super happy to meet you guys virtually right now. It's just pretty great. So I want to start with Palmer and Ross, and obviously John and May, if you guys want to add on to this, but two fantastic documentaries, and I really want to know what inspired you guys to tell this story and why this particular story. So we'll start with Ross. Why the story? Uh-oh. Oh no. Yeah, Palmer. What? Ross, I think we're losing connection on here. Oh no.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. All right. Well, I'll take over just until he gets his connection back. So Honor Flight, the inspiration behind it was time oriented, because as we all know, our World War II veterans are passing away at pretty extreme rate. So it's kind of like a now or never thing. A lot of the guys, especially and women on that flight, are there's a long waiting list of the available veterans, and so they usually take the ones that are at a point in mobility that allows them to journey. So even of the selected group of people that are put on the Honor Flight, a lot of those people are, it's like now or never kind of thing. So it's for that reason that I went, just to sort of shed a light on it.
Gotcha. Okay. I think Ross is trying to jump back on here. Ross, just give me a thumbs up when you're ready to go. I'll see if I can bring you back. Oh, perfect. Hey, welcome back.
Sorry
Ross,
about that.
no, it's okay. This isn't expected with this technology, right? And we're doing everything virtually. But Ross, did you happen to catch my question by any chance?
How to come to the film? Is that sort of how did we start this?
Why this story? Like, why did you choose this story to tell, and sort of how maybe you got involved? And tell us a little backstory of that.
Yeah. So this film is 100% because of May Moujon, who is she produced this film. May's been working on this for a long time. It's been her passion. She is a really great member of the community in East Hampton. And she asked me if I would get involved. And she had a lot of footage. She had about, I don't know how many hours, a couple hundred hours of footage. And she didn't shoot 400 hours of footage. And she'd been shooting for a long time. And so I came in and basically just took a lot of the footage and shot new interviews and basically just crafted it so we could tell a pretty clear, emotional story. And that's how I got involved.
That's awesome. What was the one thing that excited you most about this story, right? I mean, because you have a pretty long resume of Academy Award, which is amazing. But what about this story made you say, I have to tell this story and I want to get involved?
Well, at first glance, it's about saving lives, right? And there's all those kinds of good things that you want to contribute to the world and try to tell a great story that does some good. But then, most importantly for me, it's the characters, right? All right. So it seemed like May had shot hours and hours of footage with Johnny Ryan, who's right here, and Big John, his dad, and the whole community. And they seemed like pretty good characters. It was really interesting. But the thing I loved and the thing I fell in love with, as happens with most of these films, is that once you really get to know the people and fall in love with them, that's when I get excited. So good example is Johnny. When I saw footage of John in the film, he came across as a little stern, a little sort of, serious. And, I was like, I'm not sure, this guy might be a little bit of a tough nut to crack. And then within 5 minutes of meeting him, I was like, oh, this guy's great. He was like a sweetheart, emotional, and just he was hanging out with my son Harry and teaching him. It was just so right away I was like, all right, this is going to be great.
Wow, that's
like,
amazing.
Real people and wonderful, and yeah. So I just really getting to know people.
Yeah. So May, I want to turn it over to you, right? Being the producer and really kind of what got the story going. So what inspired you? Like, what was the moment, if there was one, that made you think, I got to pick up this camera and this is the story I got to tell?
I met with Big John Ryan, who is now 86 and 6'4", and Johnny. And I said, has anyone ever told your story? And Big John turned to me, or looked down at me and said, no, we start training tomorrow. And I tried to become an ocean guard when I was 16, and this was a way to save lives, teach everyone about the ocean, and to recognize these heroes of the sea, because that's what they are. When the 911 call goes out, they're the ones who show up and risk their lives to save yours. And
yeah,
people kind of thought lifeguards were more like Baywatch. And it's not at all who they are, especially in the town of East Hampton. And it was a family story. Big John is an overwhelming character. He said, friends are family, family are friends. If you don't show up, we're going to talk about you. And we showed up and we started shooting. And the ocean test is really tough. And people needed to see how tough it is when they look at these lifeguards up on the stand. Every county is different, but East Hampton has a special connection with their community, and it was a story to be told.
Yeah, that's incredible. So I didn't realize it was the 24 hours, basically. You're like, you told the story, and you were filming the next day. Is that what I understand correctly? Yep. Oh, wow. And how long from that moment, you mentioned this before we jumped on this call, is how long did it take from start to finish to have this movie out and ready to go?
10 years.
10 years. So you've been filming for 10 years. Wow. That's unbelievable. Palmer, how long for you? Because I mean, that's
the exact opposite. Like, the honor flight, which there are a ton of different honor flights, and they take veterans that are old to DC to go to the memorials. They do it over a weekend, and they do it over a weekend because logistically that's all they have time for, because these guys and girls are old, and they don't get around very well, and their health is bad, and so they're traveling. They're in a hotel. They're in a bus. They're going around the memorials. It's a lot of physicality for someone in their 90s.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, I was by myself, and as most documentary people are, and you just tag along and try to capture all the various moments. I mean, they had it inlaid into this journey, all these various ceremonial type moments. And so you're just doing your best to try to capture stuff. And then at the end of the day, you edit it and put it together as quick as possible. I mean, so for me, it wasn't a 10-year, it was more of a lot of pre-production to understand what was going to happen, and then try to forecast mentally what might take place and how you might want to like frame it and capture that moment. And then hopefully you got what you needed and go into post and put it together in a month, 2 months. So
yeah. Wow. How was it right? Because you have a lot of really great shots of the veterans. I mean, how was it then? Were they like comfortable just having the camera always on them at all times, or what was any pushback on that? How was that? Was that like? It wasn't like an ethnographic situation where someone is concerned about like their soul being captured by a camera. It was more so. It was more so of a fun-loving atmosphere. I mean, the news from the get-go. We were there at like 6 a.m. at the airport in San Diego, and the news is there. Wow.
So people are putting cameras in faces, and so I think
by that point, okay.
Yeah, they got used to me being a part of it. So.
Wow. I guess some people maybe to be so emotional like they were on camera. Some people choose not to have that on camera. That's why I was curious if they were comfortable with it. But it sounds like they were all for it.
They were all for it. I mean, I think especially a lot of the older folks who, I mean, they just weren't scared. I mean, for a lot of them, it was their last trip. I mean, like there was one gentleman who was in his probably 60s or 70s who was infected with Agent Orange, which is that chemicals I guess they used in Vietnam. So I didn't realize, but I was interviewing, and after the interview, he was terminal. So I don't know if it's going to happen, but you know, for a lot of these guys, they just had nothing to be shy about, you know?
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's, man, unbelievable story, man. It's such a great to see that and be able to give them those opportunity to go see those different places. John, I have a question for you, right?
Sure.
The first time you saw that film, what was going through your mind? Because it's a story that's so close to home for you. So what were those emotions like when you first watched that film, whether it was on the big screen? I don't know if it was, I hope it's not right now, but what was that emotion for you?
So, you know, it's funny, Ross said I was very serious, and I've always been, and even when May first met me, I was very serious about what was going to possibly happen. This is my 40th year. This year was my 40th year working as an East Hampton Town lifeguard. Wow. And over the years, I've watched lifeguarding change out on here in East Hampton. And as I'm a teacher as well, my father always says you can't call lifeguarding work, and he's absolutely correct. You can't, but it is work for me, and always has been. But teaching, as a teacher, you know you have to be serious from the get-go. Otherwise, it's hard to gather them back if you're in the end come off serious, and then you can kind of let up a little bit. But when May first approached us, we had been approached by others as well, other people that were interested in telling our story about what was going on. And it came to a point where somebody actually called and wanted a group of lifeguards. They wanted to do a film, and they wanted a reality show. And I was, wait a minute, whoa,
Right.
reality show. Yeah, a lot like Jersey Shore. I was like, ooh, I want nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
I've spent a long time working and watching how the town of East Hampton Lifeguard Corps has evolved. So it was very concerning as to what was going to be put out there. And when May came to us and started to talk to us about what it wasn't going to be, the Jersey Shore type of thing, we accepted that. You know, we knew it was going to be great. And when Ross came on, we knew it was going to be put together and it was going to be done well. You know, so it's definitely something. When I watched it for the first time, very impressive. You know, I knew it told the story. I knew it said what we do and how hard we've worked over the years. This is not a overnight success of what we've done to waterproof this community. As May has spoke before, it's taken almost 30 years of trial, failure, and then success. And once we started to succeed in running of programs, it just continued to grow, much like a weed grows. You just no control over it. It built up to the programs, the junior program, the swim team program, the lifeguard program, the ocean rescue program has grown tremendously over those 30 years. And we have truly waterproofed this community. So as May said, this is going to help really try to reach out to those waterfront communities, and it's never foolproof. There are drownings. We had 2 this year. Sadly, not in our areas, but in unprotected areas. But there's also been a lot of lives saved because of what we've done over the years. And unfortunately, you don't hear about a lot of them, but we know they're out there because everyone that goes through our program builds that comfort level in the ocean and know how to handle situations when things get bad. And so on unprotected beaches, we know there are a lot of rescues from those that have been in our program.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's an incredible story. And I was just mentioning to you guys before we went live, right? Being at the Fort Myers Beach International Film Festival, we're a waterfront. And we've had people watch this film on my selection team that were just like, hey, this could be an opportunity here. So, I mean, it's a beautiful story. It's even for me, who I live in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, so I'm not a waterfront, but I even learned a whole bunch as a programming director about your story. So beautiful story to tell. Now, May, you've been working on this for 10 years. Ross, how late or early did you come into the project? Was it like a couple years in? And what were some of the biggest challenges that both your films, Palmer and May and Ross, that you guys had to overcome? So that's a two-part question. Sorry.
I'll just say, just quickly, I'm actually in my son's tutor's house.
Oh.
I didn't know it. I thought I'd be able to do this from outside, so I might have to go in a few minutes. His session might be over soon. I only got involved in the last year or so. Yeah, May came with a lot of footage and a lot of energy and a year and a half, maybe May, a year.
4.
No.
Yeah, I have pictures of you with Harry meeting Johnny. This time.
Oh, it felt like a year.
It was.
4, but we didn't want it full time. We just sort of we shot a little bit. When did we shoot the intro? Anyway. And in terms of the biggest challenge was sort of wrangling this huge amount of footage and sort of sifting through it and finding, continually trying to find the best parts, but also, just really being clear that, the interviews that we did they had to drive the film. And in the end they did, but it was hard. It was hard finding the balance there. But it's just a lot of sifting through footage.
Wow. So. Yeah, I don't think. I was still watching it. I would have never guessed that because it looks. The whole film, is beautiful, and you guys should be really proud of it because I think it's educational. Is it? And then Palmer, I'll turn back to you to follow up with that question. But is this? You see the final product of it. Is it everything you guys hope for in terms of an education level, or do you want to see it even go further? Like, what's the goal long term for the film? Yeah.
It's me.
To me?
Or Ross, doesn't matter.
I would say the long-term goal is to find a team that can go out to schools and kids. It works with a pool too, because there's a lot of drownings in pools. People are unaware that drowning of children 1 to 4 is the second highest unintentional death in this country. So it's not just ocean, it's pools, it's bays, it's lakes. So the long-term goal is to get this streaming. We've gone to mostly waterfront, like I said, communities, film festivals. The film's being seen, and our goal is to reach as many people and teach them the dangers of the ocean. Johnny has a way to talk about what do you do when you come down to the ocean? What do you look for? You don't just run in. And he was able to portray that, and Ross was able to get interviews out of him because the two of them really bonded. And that was really special. Watching the two of them come together as, they'll be friends for life. I don't know about you.
Friends for life.
Friends for life.
That's incredible. So Palmer, same questions, right? What was your biggest challenge of making this film? And then, right, what's the ultimate goal? Are you looking to get it out there to educate people on kind of what those veterans go through?
I think the ultimate goal is pretty easy. It's just to make more people aware. If you Google search Honor Flight documentary, you'll see a lot of different versions of what I put together. And I think the ultimate goal of all of them collectively is just to attract donors, because it's 100% donations that lead to these groups funding the travel, and B, just getting the word out there that it exists, because there are a lot of veterans that, they could have been on Omaha Beach or could have done something absolutely insane that you would have no idea. And it's just a great deal for them to get around each other, to share each other's stories, and to be a part of, that community feeling again, I guess. And a lot of the children too of a lot of these guys, it's interesting. That was an interesting subject to film, because they didn't know their stories, like as a son, as a whatever, they didn't know what was going on, and it took this environment, this like bubble of all these people moving together throughout a weekend to start sharing the sea stories, you know, and that it took a little bit of that for people to. But as far as the hardest thing to film, I mean, I think it just goes down to, I mean, we all know, just like when you're trying to craft something, for me, especially because it was just one weekend, it was just me as a shooter, and I had to make sure that I kind of recruited some of the staff in a sort of hodgepodge way to say, hey, you know, Carol, remind me if something happens over here, or, you know, get my attention if you find a World War II veteran that wants to talk, you know, just trying to really spread out my fingers so that I could be at the right place at the right time. And it was also, you know, I would be charging around DC. There was a women's memorial where we only had 2 or 3 veterans that were women. And so they drop off there, and the rest went over to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, which is, you know, it's like maybe 2 miles.
Yeah.
So I like get off to film. I need to capture some imagery of these women, right? That's important. And then as soon as I'm there, I literally spent less than 5 minutes there, and I sprinted through the cemetery up the hill to finally get to the tomb and get some of that footage, you know, to make sure that you're getting a good. So, and of course, editing it, I think trying to find the spine of the story, I think, like as you guys did with all those hours of footage, it's trying to find the spine so that you can figure out what worked and what doesn't. Because there were some interviews that I did and conducted that were great on their own. Great stories. You know, there's a veteran that told me a great story about how he like took his rations and gave them to kids and all this stuff. But some of these interviews just went really, really, really long, and I didn't have enough supporting information to kind of contribute to that. And the fact that I was aiming for that 20-minute mark, you know, so that kind of really dictated what I could use and what I could. Anyway.
I think we're losing Ross.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have to go. My son's tutoring session's over.
No worries. It was good meeting you, Ross.
Thank you guys so much. I'm sorry I have to leave.
No worries at all.
All right. And thank you for having the film. I wish we could be down there. Oh,
I know.
Maybe next year. Next
Hopefully
year, we'll go down with Johnny.
yeah.
Come
Bring
back
us back as jurors.
There you go.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Bye, Ross. See you, Harry.
John, or sorry, Palmer. Yeah, that was. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, I think the biggest thing about I've never made a documentary, so I would imagine the coordination behind all those things is definitely probably the most challenging in a lot of aspects. Well, guys, listen, thank you so much for tuning in. And I really appreciate it. It means a lot to our audience. And I think both of your films were super inspiring and really, I mean, especially being the Waterfront Film Festival is a lot of things that we just learned in there. I hope to get you guys down for 2021. This is not what we planned, but yeah, guys. So thank you so much for everything. Please stay in touch. All right.
Cool. All right.
Ciao.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
All right, man, that was fantastic. Such great filmmakers. If you guys haven't seen their films yet, please look them up, find out where they are, because they're absolutely incredible projects. And we're so honored to have them. But guys, there is still plenty more film festival left. We have some screenings happening right now. They're just getting started in just a few minutes. Q&As to follow. We have our short filmmaker workshop, where it includes some really inspiring award-winning filmmakers, including a filmmaker who is an Academy Award winner. So yeah, super inspiring stuff. It's going to be great. Until then, guys, see you at the movies.